Ross Dellinger, who we've had on the show many, many times. Expansion talks have been underway now for 2 years, but it now does appear that they are getting more and more serious. Remember, the playoffs were not even there. How long has it been? 14? Was it 14 the first year? 13, 14. So it's been about a decade, close to a decade, and now
really
you're starting to see a little bit. Yeah,
61-58.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you got to remember for the first year of the playoff.
So Bill Hancock gave people a taste of the ongoing discussion through bits of information. 3 bits. A college football working group is exploring the models. Well, that could take 10 years. Those models range from 6 to 16 playoff teams. I can never imagine it being higher than possibly 6 or 8. And the playoff will remain at 4 for at least the next 2 years. So they have time to deal with this a little bit.
Yeah. And, they didn't want to do a playoff for very long, for so very long. And then they started doing one because they wanted to, that's how college football does it. They want to see how it works. And then they find out what everybody hates about something. And then they address that one specific issue, but not all the rest of them. So now we'll see what one specific issue they find. And my genuine concern is that, like, okay, we're going to go 8 teams, and then the teams that would truly benefit from a real 8-team playoff, the ones like, the Boise States of the world who have 12-0 years or something like that.
Man, the Baylors, the TCUs,
those teams will still ultimately get shut out because they set up, I think, and of course, if I had Bill Hancock's ear for 1 second, I would say, look, this stupid television show that you're doing, do it twice.
Yeah.
Do it twice. Don't do it 8 times. Do it twice. And then that'll solve a lot of the problems they have with people with backlash because, they have national backlash because 3 weeks ago you told me that my team was good and nothing's changed and now they're not because all of a sudden some team's better. Don't do that.
Well, the bottom line with the playoff is it's not an even playing field. It doesn't reward you in any way, shape, or form for winning your conference, really, which I think is just one of the worst attributes of it. There should be something that matters for winning a Power 5 conference. I don't care if the conference is down that year. That should matter. If you're a Power 5, it should matter that you're a Power 5. It matters in every other way. Why would it not matter winning your conference? Huh? It matters when it comes to money. It matters when it comes to TV. It matters when it comes to all these things. But for some reason, in the playoff, it doesn't matter that you won one of the 5 major conferences. That's just stupid. That's just a dumb thing to have in play, in my opinion.
When those who wanted or decided the Power 5, the arrogance of some of them, the SEC knew we'll never be left out. The Big Ten thought they would never be left out. And the Pac-12 and Big 12 probably had, with all due respect.
Right, but there should be a reward for winning the Power 5. There should be an automatic berth in the playoff, in my opinion, if you win any of those 5 conferences. I'm not for, like, the March Madness of, like, 32 teams and going crazy like Mike Leach wants to do all of that, but I do think 4 is boring. 4 has become very boring in a very short amount of time because you already know 3 of the 4 teams every single year, Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama. We get the same games every single year, some combination of Ohio State, Bama, or Ohio State, Clemson, or Clemson, Alabama. And it very well may still be that if you do 16 teams or if you do 8 teams, but at least give us something fresh and not the same old BS about how we came to the number 4 spot. Well, you looked at the dollar signs. That's how you came to the number 4 spot. You looked at the national championship case. That's how you came to the number 4 spot. So that very obvious blue blood bias needs to be eliminated. There needs to be a reward for winning a Power 5. There needs to be an acknowledgement of the non-Power 5s, even if it's only a team. And I think the playoff would automatically be more interesting.
And if somebody that wins is 7-6, so be it.
So be it. Why
Who
not?
cares?
But you know what? For the one time out of 40 years, if we did this for 40 years, that, a 7-6 team from the Pac-12, they had injuries early in the year, they got hot. Okay, Baylor in 2012. 2012 Baylor.
8-5.
8-5 team. So if they wind up 8-5 and winning the conference, they were hotter than almost anybody in the country, save for maybe 3 teams at the end of the year. So if there had been a 4-team playoff that year, they might have gotten one of those teams.
Well,
so I mean, just one. I don't think they're going to win.
To me, that's what brings interest. Is you have a Cinderella.
But so it happens, and then it's interesting as opposed to rotating around. And look, most years those same 3 teams are going to win those games. That's what's going to happen.
Yep.
But the one time it does is going to keep me interested for 5 more years.
Well, and I would just say, we were talking about recruiting and how that changes. How do you get the interest? Well, you have an opportunity to beat Alabama every once in a while instead of just never getting the opportunity. And, yeah, you might win that first game and then lose the very next one to Alabama, Ohio, or Clemson. But guess what? That was a big freaking deal for your Baylor football program or your Washington State football program or your Virginia football program that, yeah, you lost in the second round, but you did get a big win over Ohio State that you can play off of, and that raises your stock. And that's how you're going to have to do it, because the way they're doing it now, it's only the tide rises for like 8 boats.
Too many times you hear, well, they'll beat them. You never know. Let them play. Here's what Ross Dellinger said. 8 of the 11 college football playoff commissioners telling SI Now they're for expansion or open to it. 27-month secret, a controversial debate. Key June meeting inside the playoff talks. At the end of the day, I think there will be expansion. Now, whether or not there won't be for the next 2 years. But I'm so tired. I am sick and tired of a team that's from a conference that's not the SEC may win the conference championship. Like Kansas State one year upset Oklahoma. Like A&M shocked Kansas State. Like Texas beat Nebraska, who was fantastic in '96 to start the whole chaos of the Big 12. That's the way it is. That's what people want to see. That otherwise, it's just, here are the 4 teams, maybe 6. We'll see you in January.
Well, and that adds intrigue because,
if an SEC team was to win, they would build a bubble. Well, yeah, but they had a guy hurt early in the first month.
But look, if Alabama's supposed to run away with the conference and then a 9-3 team jumps and knocks them in the conference title game, and then Alabama might be they'll probably still get an at-large, but it could, depending on the season, knock it into some real discussion. I want to see that. I want to see that 9-3 team in the playoff. They earned it. They won the conference.
Why would we like it in basketball but not like it in football?
Yeah.
Yep.
Why do we talk so much about how great March Madness is, but then as soon as we mention anything related to March Madness and football, we're like, no, can't do that. Why not?
I think
why not?
I've seen it.
There used to be 16 teams.
And I'm not even
NCAA
saying like
tournament.
the volume of it. I'm just saying like the opportunity for St. Mary's or Texas Southern, and it wouldn't be the exact teams, obviously, basketball wise. That's the teams that you see getting these opportunities, or even the mid levels.
Or Florida Gulf Coast.
Or Florida,
There's no Oral Roberts.
But like, how
opportunity.
else is Kentucky getting? Well, Kentucky's a bad example because they're in the SEC. If they got good, they'd automatically be in there. So that's another part of the problem.
But how's Washington State?
Right, exactly.
You said Virginia before. Virginia's a great example because
I agree. I think I might have watched 5 bowl games this year. There was a time
more than most people.
There was a time I would have watched 25. So right now, the bowl games, unless you're a young team on the rise like Baylor in the Texas Bowl, Rule's second year, unless you're kind of, the bowl games are dying. They're almost becoming irrelevant. You need to figure out a way to make some of them relevant again.
Well, a lot of them aren't even in desirable places anymore. I'm not real fired up to go to
Mobile,
Detroit,
Alabama,
or
Fort Worth,
or Boca Raton, or there's bowl games in places that nobody wants to go to for any reason. Why are we going for a bowl game?
You and I would do, I know that these cities do that, and of course a lot of the bowl games are a huge racket anyway.
Oh, of course it is. That's all it. We're answering our own question. It's all money related. That's all it is.
But you know what I would do is what cities? For example, Phoenix does a great job with pumping up the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl before whatever it is. Going to be right before the Fiesta Bowl. Why don't you do, put it in sites that everybody wants to go to and then have games all week in those sites? You have a Dallas, a Miami, a New Orleans, a Phoenix, a LA, and you have those sites so that you're not, doing that. Or you can even move around, but you could do 3 games in the Alamo Bowl, in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, and you have one heck of a week, And that we're never not the
Still
Detroit Music City Bowl.
Yeah, and what you said, what I said, we've said 5 years ago.